awo ku opipui oda sobonfulewo. Eguni kubata bango egunde biaba fatori na legun. Ashe. First and foremost, we want to definitely call on the ancestors of Donna Sisi, honoring her ancestors on her maternal side and her paternal side. We call on all the ancestors of everyone who's involved today to come and join us, so that you know, we're representing our ancestors as we sit in our physical bodies. We ask that the ancestors sit to the front of us, to the back of us, to the right and to the left of us, knowing that our ancestors are always joining us in whatever, especially positive endeavors we're in. So yes, welcome, welcome.
Ashe, beautiful. Okay, and so I am so grateful to have y'all here. We are celebrating the book that is the first book Donna Sisi has ever published in English. She is a daughter of the land of the Guarani Kiowa people. She has spent much of her life on Paraguaçu land, so also known as, she was born in Rio de Janeiro and has spent a lot of her life in Salvador da Bahia. She comes from a beautiful lineage of Afro-Brazilian women. She speaks Portuguese and Yoruba and a lot of other, she knows Congolese terms, and she's a brilliant wisdom lineage bearer. And it was really important to me that her ancestral knowledge be preserved and connected to particularly spiritual seekers of the African diaspora, because Danielle Boaz wrote an amazing article called "The Case for Religious Reparations," and she points out how there's been a very concerted effort to keep African spiritual knowledge from being passed from generation to generation to serve white supremacy. And it hasn't worked. All of these beautiful traditions are still amazing in here, but it's done damage. And so this book, I'm gonna post in the chat the link to how you can do a PDF download for $5 if that's affordable. Full price is awesome. And that will direct all royalties to her. And yeah, she's a beloved elder that many of us know and love. So I'd love to ask Baba and Iya to provide the context of Yoruba religion. Donna Sisi is located in South America and has come through in the Candomblé lineage. But before, her spiritual ancestors were from Yoruba land, and that is the origin, that's the source. And Otura Meji, the Odu of 2019 to 2020, talked about how important it is to look at the origin and look at the source.
So the base, now it's becoming popular for people to call it Isheshe, and that's in many of the prayers. It's talking about the primordial lineage, Isheshe, primordial lineage. So, and as you guys know, in Ile Orunmila Afedefeyo, we're looking and respecting all the branches of Ifa. But it's important that we stay with knowing what the roots are. It's very, very, very important, especially today in this day and age. And so when we're looking at roots, we're also looking at the importance of elders. And so that's a big, big piece. Professor Roland Abiodun calls this Wa Agba Rin, Wa Agba Rin, Wa Agba Rin. It means to walk with the elders. And that's what we're all doing with Donna Sisi, is walking with elders. So that's really, really important, walking with elders. And what does that look like? And then I forget what page it is in her book. And congratulations to you, Camelia.
Ashe.
Really, really great ashe for doing this work, because it's very, very important.
Ashe.
It's very, very important and needed. And there'll be more for you to do that.
Ashe.
Ashe. On page 29, there's a piece in there that says the importance of elders on page 29. And that hit me really, really, that really hit me on the importance of elders. And so I wanted to read an Odu, recite an Odu on, there's many Odus that talk about the importance of elders, but there's one that I like from Ogbe Alara, Ogbe Otura. It's really, really, that's So Fayomi's giving me a bunch.
Sorry.
So should we do Otura Meji too?
Do what you
Actually, Fayomi posted something on Otura Meji, a couple of weeks ago, on the importance of elders and omos, which is becoming an issue as well. And she posted that on the Ile page. But I want to do something first from Ogbe Alara. Ogbe Irete. So I will do that, and can open up with that. So Omobo Kofa means to study Ifa. Omobo Kofa, Omobo Teru, Odomo de Tokofa, Tolohun ni Fisin Agbalagba, Konifa Kifa Ibule Ko, Difafun Akiri Tojole, Iyetiso Aremo Okanjua, Emipani Kipinwo, Ifani Komio, Biagba ma Teteku, ma la she ma lowo. Ifa says the child, if you want to study Ifa, do so. Child, if you want to fight over the proceeds, do so. A child who studies Ifa, who declares that will not serve elders with his knowledge. This is talking about people who are becoming arrogant. Young people becoming arrogant with their knowledge of study and Ifa. And in my experience and Iya's experience, we've seen this when we go to Nigeria with young folks going to school and getting so-called educated and also becoming Christian. They start to push the elders to the side. And so we've also seen that they give us a certain type of respect because they see my daughter with me. And they see how I respect my daughter as an Iya. So that's a whole nother conversation that's in this verse. So it says, he who will not learn those Ifa will distinguish a Babalawo among the crowd. Ifa saying once you begin to study Ifa, you will begin to see the ashe that people carry within Ifa. You can tell who's carrying ashe. Even if the person is humbling themselves, you will begin to see who carries ashe. You can feel it. You can feel it. So the verse goes on to say that these were the declarations of Ifa to Akiri Tojule, the one who moves from house to house, the one who moves from one place to another. It's talking about somebody who has no foundation. They bounce, and they don't have a foundation in their practice. It's talking about someone who was, what did Baba say about the birds? About the bird that comes in the yard and eats all the food and leaves. And has no loyalty. So Ifa's talking about these are people who have no loyalty to elders. They just want to study and take. Ifa says, cast Ifa for the one who is the child of greed. The one who is the child of greed. I am not after financial success or proceeds from Ifa. Please teach me useful Ifa. Ifa says we should be learning Ifa that is useful, that can help community. He says, so that I do not die young, I will be successful. Surely I will be wealthy. Ifa saying that if you do the right things with Ifa, you're going to be successful. So it's talking about not being greedy, but respecting the elders that come before you. And what was the other verse here? This was from Otura Meji, from the Odu that Camellia had just mentioned. It says priests and priestesses should be ready to always build up their godchildren, their omos. This is because they will surely reap the profit of the good seeds. They should not think of bad things the godchildren do, but of the good things that they do. Ifa says godchildren should always be available to their spiritual parents. They should not think of the bad things they have done, but of the good things the spiritual parents have done. Ifa says with this, they will receive the blessings. Both spiritual parents and spiritual godchildren should have mutual understanding and appreciate each other, as well as forgive each other for bad acts. Ifa, what does this say? Yeah. Okay. So Ifa's talking about the relationship between the Omo and the elders, and how important that is that we are also respecting each other, that we're respecting each other, but the eldership is here. There's a hierarchy in everything that we do. And so for us to be honoring Dona Sisi like this is really, really important, because there's, in 2020, there's a lot of elders who are passing over. And a couple of years ago, the Odus spoke of the elders basically being disappointed and shutting down their information, shutting down their knowledge. And when I saw that in the book, I was like, wow, this is so true, that Yeye, Dona Sisi is saying this, that she's shutting down. And we don't want to get to the point where we're so arrogant because we have studied and we know a lot of things that we start to disrespect the elders. And I think this goes across the board, just in life in general, but some of the elders are beginning to shut down because they're not feeling respected. Ashe.
Modupe, Iya, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Just, in terms of Yoruba culture, I think that Yeye Dona Sisi is a perfect example of retaining Yoruba culture and the levels of eldership. It's very clear that she has sat at the feet of her elders, and then we in turn do that when she comes here. And, I just encourage people to sit and be quiet and listen. And thank goodness that this book of her knowledge is being presented to the world so that we can retain it in a different way. But culturally, it's so important that we sit and listen and respect the different levels of learning. And one of those is just to sit and listen without talking, and being grateful for who she is, and all of the knowledge that she's accrued over the years is just a direct representation of the lineage of Yoruba people that is still thriving in her DNA. She's obviously come straight from Africa, and then now she resides in the diaspora, and she's alive and well, and she's done all the studying for us. So now our job is to try and soak up her knowledge. And this is something that's been going on for centuries, right? And she has been able to retain that knowledge. But the most amazing thing about her is then she humbles herself when she feels like she gets around elders. And that's an amazing thing that we don't see very often. And it's so honorable because she knows so much. And it's just such a cultural thing that she's just retained all of this knowledge, and she just brings it to us. So she is Yoruba. We know that, right? We can see it in the way she moves through life. And so it's so beautiful to see how eldership works. And we just hope that people continually honor her. And one of the ways that we can do that now is to buy this book and support her financially, because, that's part of our job too. Not only do you learn from your elders, but you support them financially. You support them by showing up and being of service to them. And so I pray that that continually happens for her, especially as she is in her older age. She still gives to us. She's still constantly giving to the community, and we want to make sure that she's taken care of. So I'm giving so many thanks and praises to her Ori and her Ogun, and all of the spirits that surround her, that she stays supported, and that she also feels our love and support in every way possible as we sit here on this side of the continent to support her from here. So I'm just so grateful to be a part of this whole movement.
Ashe, Modupe, which means thank you. Thank y'all so much, because you are my elders and I love you. And if there's any words that you've heard, folks who are here that like, I'm not sure what that means. There's a glossary on page 70 of the book, and it's also on page 70 of the PDF. And that means, oh, great, there's room to learn. So I'd love to hop to the amazing change agent, dancer, artivist, Marina Magalhães, who is a daughter of Brazil, to present her how she sees and how she loves Brazil to those of us here, because I am not Brazilian, and I want to make sure that we're honoring folks who actually are from that location on this planet. Thank you. So yeah, Marina, go ahead.
Thank you, Camila. Thank you, Baba. Thank you, Iya. And thank you, Dona Cici, who Linda is translating for on the phone. And thank you for all of you who are here. I was just scrolling through the Zoom gallery view and getting present to this community that showed up today for Dona Cici, for this beautiful lineage that she carries. And it's very humbling to be in the presence of this group. So yeah, thank you, Camelia, for offering this opportunity to speak. I also want to own that as a Brazilian person, I am light-skinned and I am white passing, and I carry a mixed race lineage. And I'm happy to speak from my point of view, which is certainly not everyone's point of view. And Brazil is the largest, has the largest population of Black folks outside of the African continent. So that's really important for us to remember just how deeply African culture is present and alive in Brazil and how much it informs Brazilian identity. And really Brazil's African legacy is something that has always been present in Brazil, but has always been extremely fraught and has been extremely persecuted and violently repressed, especially by state authorities. So the work that Dona Cici does and the work that other religious elders and spiritual leaders do is one of resistance, of like deep, deep political, social resistance within a long lineage of resilience of Black folks in Brazil and Black culture in Brazil. I think especially at this moment that Brazil is in now, we have Jair Bolsonaro in the presidency. And for those who are less familiar with Brazil's current political state, he is an extremely, extremely right-wing fascist, openly fascist president who's openly expressed homophobia, racism, sexism, like the full spectrum of those beliefs. And he is also very much leading and incentivizing and empowering religious intolerance in Brazil against Afro-Brazilian religious practices. So we've seen a surge of hate crimes. We've seen a surge of people feeling emboldened to express their hatred and their intolerance towards Afro-Brazilian spiritual practices in Brazil. And at the same time, we've seen cultural practitioners, spiritual practitioners really step up to defend and protect these practices. But it is absolutely a very vulnerable time for Brazil right now, extremely vulnerable, extremely precarious. My family is still, every single one of them still lives in Brazil. My sister and I are the only ones who don't at this moment. And every day when I speak to my Brazilian family there is the sense of imminent fear and a sense of imminent insecurity as to what the future is going to look like right now. And that absolutely translates into these very profound and important cultural practices. So I'm so heartened that we're taking the time to uplift and to honor such an incredible leader in Afro-Brazilian spiritual practice in our community, which really, because it is rooted in Afro-Brazilian spiritual practice, but we can see how it carries over beyond borders and beyond geography, right? Dona Cici's leadership and spirit is present here where I am in Los Angeles. It's present where each and every single one of us is, which may be in completely different parts of the United States and maybe even the world. So yeah, I have profound gratitude for this moment. Thank you, Camelia, for organizing this. And just deep, deep gratidão, deep axé for Dona Cici for carrying on this work. The context within it's being done is a truly fearful one, is a truly fraught one. And it only shows the strength, really, that she carries and that all these incredible leaders carry for us. So thank you.
Ashe, thank you so much, Marina. So you all are going to get a follow-up email, or you can check marinamagalhaes.com. Marina Magalhaes on Instagram. I want everybody to know that these amazing panelists, they are donating their time. So we're all coming together to practice what Baba and Nia talked about of like lifting up and supporting our elders, but also every one of these people has really valuable time, so many gifts to share. So please, if you can, lift them up as well. And I want to mention with, we're going to transition to talking specifically about Donna Cece's story. And I want to mention that part of the persecution and religious racism that practitioners of Yoruba religion face in Brazil specifically is both prejudice that is like verbal and also violent acts. So it's been escalating for the past kind of 20 years, actually. There's some great scholarship. I'm really nerdy about this, so like I can like post all this later, but there's a lot of documentation of the escalation of hate crimes and the proportion of those religious hate crimes that are against practitioners of Afro-Brazilian religions. It's like almost all of these hate crimes. They're targeting candomblé, umbanda, spiritism. There's been like, you know, folks who are signifying belonging in Afro-Brazilian religion. So like wearing white, using sacred jewelry, sacred adornment, who have gotten like physically attacked on the street. And there's a lot in the state of Rio de Janeiro where Dona Cece was born. And it's actually also happening in Salvador da Bahia, where Dona Cece lives. So it's always very important to me to have a holistic view that is grounded in reality, that these are beautiful spiritual practices. If you've seen a video, or I hope like danced with Rachel or Marina, or heard Khalil play, the music and the dance and the adornment of Afro-Brazilian spirituality is exquisite. Like aesthetically, just your senses are just bedazzled. And all like throughout Brazilian history for 520 years, like that preservation has always been in the face of violence. Like where Dona Cece works, the Fundação Pierre Verger, it is located on land that was a plantation. And there's this, Dona Cece is the co-author of an article, a scholarly article of like, Acaba com esse santo por Pedrito vem aí, I think. So that roughly translates to like, get this person out of trance, the police are coming. So like people would be in spiritual space and like the divinities would have incorporated and the police would be coming and trying to break things up. And like that has never stopped. This constant threat of violence, of white supremacy, has been ongoing for multiple centuries. It does not define this spirituality, but it is a danger, a risk that practitioners of Afro-Brazilian spirituality run simply by practicing their faith. And so, for those of us who are not Afro-Brazilian, I feel it's ethically really important to be aware of that context, that this is not just a beautiful tradition. It is not just healing in a way that we can feel in our bodies when we're in Rachel's dance class. And you can feel Khalil's rhythms like up through the floor, moving into all of your organs and shaking loose the trauma. Like that is happening. And also all of the people who preserved it to the point where these artists and spirituality leaders could share it with us have done so in the face of persecution and are continuing to. Like last 2019 in January, Ile Orunmila Afedefeyo, the Terreiro, a candomblé spiritual center in Salvador da Bahia, experienced an attack like in the middle of ceremony where people came in with guns. So again, this is not to define it, but it is to be really exact about the importance of solidarity rather than cultural appropriation. This culture is not just something beautiful to like just do because it feels good. it is the ancestral tradition of human beings who have preserved it in the face of violence. And Linda and I were going to share about Dona Sisi's history, but Linda is now translating. So I'm going to give a quick biography of Dona Sisi. So this book is a tiny fraction of all of the interviews that I did. I have so much more material. But this is the content that she went over and said, this is good to go. This can be published. So one thing that didn't actually end up in this edition is her life story. So she was born in what's called Rio de Janeiro, also Marina's home city. And she is the daughter of an amazing woman who lived until 105.5 and just passed away recently, this past week. She grew up as the oldest daughter of many siblings, and her babalawo, her spiritual teacher, gave her the name, I believe, Ayanola, that she is the eldest daughter who takes care of the younger siblings. So even from childhood, she has always had this role of the protector of younger ones. She loves history. She's a lifelong learner. But when she was entering college, the Brazilian military dictatorship took over. And there is a long history of autocracy in Brazil. And the most recent period of authoritarianism was a military dictatorship that, like many in South America at that time, targeted anything liberal was being called communist, and this often includes a lot of institutions of higher learning. So Dona Sisi was in college, and she had to leave for her safety. All of her younger siblings, because they were younger and the situation was a little different, all of her younger siblings have higher degrees. But she talks about how that wasn't her path. So she has always had a lot of spiritual experiences, and there came a time when her path was led to Candomblé, and she had to go to Salvador da Bahia. Her spiritual teachers, her diviners said, "You're in Rio, you need to go to Salvador for your initiation." And she was like, "Why do I need to be initiated? I'm going to the services." But she was seeing the spirit of her father who had passed away. And, you know, initiation isn't like necessarily a glamorous thing. And it's not about title and experience well, experience, yes, but it's not like, kind of like in modernity, how like people will get a lot of certificates and then start charging a lot of money. Like she got initiated to save her life because she was having so many spiritual experiences. And she was initiated in Egungun society on the Ilha de Itaparica in Salvador, and also to Osun and Obatala. And with those initiations, the spiritual difficulties she was having calmed down, and she had to move to Salvador de Bahia. That was what divination said. And her Baba Lorisha, her teacher, the one who initiated her, said that your life is really going to begin, and all of the wonders of your destiny will start when your hair is gray. And she was in her early 30s, and she was like, "What?" She says, like, she was really frustrated and annoyed. She's like, "I just got initiated." And her Baba was like, "Yep, that's what the Orishas are saying." So, like, you know, in her 30s, she's in Salvador de Bahia, and she worked in the public buses. So as a person who like takes the people's bus fares and lets them onto the bus. And so for decades, she worked in that job. And again, this humility, all this time she's studying with her elders, she's learning. And then while Baba Lawo, Pierre Fatumbi Verger, sorry, was an elder, she came to work with him at putting captions on his photos. And this was a priest initiated to Ifa, and a photographer and anthropologist. And he had documented Afro-Brazilian and Afro-diasporic religious tradition across the diaspora. So there's really beautiful juxtapositions where you can see the ancestor Egungun masquerade in Benin, and then Egungun masquerade in Salvador. And like, wait, is that the same place, but from a different angle? So she spent years captioning with him over 11,000 photos and studying intensely with him towards the end of his life. And then she was working at the cultural space that he founded and encountered Linda Udine of Viver Brazil and began to travel the world as a storyteller. So now we're up to the present moment. And I'd love to hear from Dr. Anna Scott, who is a brilliant PhD and learned elder of mine, about eldership and Afro-Brazilian religion, and honestly anything that you can share, because you are one of the women that I look to for your abundance of knowledge.
All right, thank you, Camila, for that. That was the remix, the quick down. And while you were talking about Dona Cece's life, I was thinking quite a bit about time traveling and how divination and the study of Ifa and the selected heads, Orisha, really is about overcoming this preconceived notion of time. Because really, once you begin to study, once you sit in the middle of the Opon, you are in the wormhole, and you is, you ain't, and you about to be, and you've been done did it all at the same time. And whenever I have the pleasure of sitting with Dona Cece, I can't even explain that sensation sitting at her feet. I really do feel the winds of the wormhole when she begins to tell stories. Often I have the luxury of translating for her. In that phase is the best way to describe it. I experience not only what she's saying, but the thing that she is saying at the same time. I know in yoga practices, you reach a certain point in your yoga, the instructor doesn't have to call the pose. You can feel the pose that they're bringing forward for you to do. I have that experience with her sometimes when I'm doing translations, and it's a phenomenal experience. This idea that we're always already moving in all of the dimensions at all of the times is integral to the Odu of Cece herself, and she's emanating that, she's experiencing that, and she's transmitting that for all of us. Whenever I feel like it's over, I don't know what else I'm going to do, I think of Dona Cece, because this woman will get on a plane and she will go. If you call her and you buy the ticket, she will show up. And she's not just going to show up small, she's going to show up large. You'll think it's small, but as soon as she begins to speak, you will be so clear that this was the best investment you've ever made in your life, and that you still have not paid enough. I have witnessed people come out of their pocket just because they don't know how else to thank her, because it is so fantastic, the work that comes through her. If you would only listen, and also if you would only move with her, which is a very important aspect of her work. I dance as well, and sometimes part of the translation work is getting up and moving. And again, we're back to the time travel. I get up and I begin to move, she wants her ancestors to move. It's not me that's there. And so she has to put my body into the positions that represent what she's actually saying, the story she's actually telling. And that is really a very humble moment for me, learning how to get out of my own muscles and to let the story sing and dance through me. I like to talk about your earth ship. Letting this earth ship vibrate in such a way that the dance, which is for me an entity unto itself, that it arrives and does the work that it needs to do as Donna CC is telling the story of the dance. Interestingly enough, the Odu that Baba and Iya mentioned, or Tura Meji, that part that they mentioned about the seeds, the teachers making sure they cultivate the seeds that they've planted in their students, is very much a story field that I find myself in right now. I've been in a group rereading Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower and watching Toshi Regan's opera that she's generated off of this book. And it reminded me quite a bit of the way that Donna CC is living her life. This idea that you have to keep moving because you are earth seed. The only thing you can do is sow your seeds and hope that they land in ground that's fertile enough and that there's enough room and there's enough water and there's enough light for it to take sprout and to go down deep in the roots and then go tall and come to fruition. All of us who've been touched by Donna CC now carry a responsibility to make sure that we are sowing our seeds not on the rocks, not on the thorns, not on ground where there's no water, but among those that are ready to take in the information, to allow the seed to go down deep enough to germinate and then sprout. And then we become the light that's necessary. We become the heat that's necessary for that seed that we've put into folks. You cannot just drop the information and peace out. That is one of the things that I've learned from Donna CC, because sometimes I direct dissertations, and it's amazing that people think it's okay to just give information to people and then tell them, now you go work it out. That is really not how eldership works. And that is not how transmission of knowledge works. And when I think about CC, I think about this very careful and also very practical way of getting information across to people. And if nothing else, buy this book and read it out loud to yourself, bit by bit, so that you can experience her washing over your head, especially those of you who have met her, so that you can really, really come into an understanding of the hidden aspects of what she says. So often it seems like the story is kind of just like a little bitty story, but if you stop and you remember what she said and you think about it, you'll feel the roots moving and you will feel, oh, I've been blocking this plant from coming up in my consciousness. I need to get out of the way and I need to let this thing sprout. And as soon as it sprouts, you're going to be somebody else. So that's the challenge I'd like to issue to you through this book. So thank you.
Ashe, thank you for Dr. Anna B. Scott, a wonderful, wonderful scholar, time travel artist. I'd love to hear from, again, my teachers. I just asked like all of my teachers to come on here. Not all of them, there's even more. But so Khalil Cummings and Rachel Hernandez, who are lineage bearers of the rhythms and the movements that literally call God. If you've ever been, again, I mean, in Rachel or Khalil's classes, extra ancestral, I'll put all this information in the chat box when I'm not talking. Like I have cried, I have shaken, I have released trauma as Khalil plays and Rachel teaches. And it is extremely important to me that we respect and like with humility, have respect and humility for the the dedication and craft and skill of dancers and percussionists. It is very white supremacist, honestly, to value only like that which can be communicated in words. The years that like Linda and Khalil and Rachel have dedicated to embodying, learning all of these complicated polyrhythms, the delicacies and intricacies of embodiment. These are ways that literally the Irunmole and Orishas, the divinities, come to earth to bless people. And if you've been in ceremony, the drums and the dance invoke sacred energies to come. And if you're in a candomblé ceremony in what's called Brazil, indigenous territory called Brazil, the divinities embrace you. They come and they hug you, and it is being held and loved by God, and that cannot happen without the drummers and the dancers. So I'd love to pass the virtual mic to them.
Oh, well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You know, seriously, go ahead.
Really? Okay, Abuda Buye, Alafia, everyone. Abuda Buye, Sisi. Thank you so much for having us here. I want to touch on a few things. I was really thankful for what Baba shared about elders and students. And I just want to share a little bit of my experience. First off, I'm super thankful and blessed that my life path has led me here as a musician. And I've had initiation to the drum in various forms through djembe, manding, bata, Afro-Cuban, and also, you know, my experience with capoeira. And I think it's really important, something that I want to speak to my generation, the importance of the relationship with your teacher, and the importance of the relationship with your elders, and the relationship with your master. And I think, first of all, I'm a fetus in this tradition. I have a lot to learn, and I'm a geek. I love learning, so for me, it's a lifelong journey, and I just want to say that first. So my experience, I've been to Africa 9 times, and when I did my initiation to djembe, I was 16 years old, and I initiated with a djembe fola master drummer by the name of Mamadi Keita, world-renowned drummer. And so I did my initiation. We went to the village. It was kind of a really scary experience for me because it was the first time I had been to Africa on my own. The previous times I went with my father. So I was really vulnerable, and my flight got delayed in Africa for like in Paris, connecting flight for 2 days, and I was like 5 in a hotel. And I feel like my initiation process began then, you know. And so I got to Guinea, and then I went to the village, and I did the initiation. And then when we got back to the States, I went to go visit Mamadi Keita, and I was driving him to a workshop, and he said something to me that really resonated. He said, you know, he's like, I'm really proud of you. He said, but you're young. And he said, understand that there may be a lot of adults, even elders, that may not respect you simply because you're young. And he said that, but that's okay, don't worry about that. He said, because you represent your generation. And he said, never forget your generation. And that really resonated with me because my experience in the tradition, especially in the African diaspora, I've been young. And I've been surrounded with elders. There's been times where, you know, I'm in dance class or in drum classes, and there's drummers there that are all older than me. I was a little kid, you know? So they look at you like, but thankfully, I mean, you know, I have the ashe with the drumming, so it's always been that experience of like always being below, but I have a certain ashe with the music. So I've always had to have that humility, but also know when to allow my ashe to come, right? I want to say this to my generation, though, that the way that I was raised is you develop a relationship with your elder, with your master. You don't just, okay, you're my teacher, I want to be apprentice, okay, let's take some classes, let me learn. You know, we have this in capoeira as well, where, okay, so the master says, okay, so you're going to train with me. So the master lives across the way. You go to visit the master's house. Okay, and you get there, and you're like, all right, I'm ready to learn. And the master's like, okay, cool. So can you help me sweep the house? Okay. And you go with your master to the marketplace, and he shows you what to pick out, okay? You may do all these things before you even get to the training part, but understanding that that's part of your training, okay? And I was raised with that experience through capoeira as well as with djembe, with bata. So that's something, you know, in some cases, in the Manding tradition, it's they believe in the Manding tradition. They say this to you too. This is something that Mama Diketa's even shared with me, that they say that until you're 45, you're not considered a master at anything, right? And no matter how great of a musician or artist or whatever it is that you are, and what that's saying is you have to become an elder, you know? You have to experience, right, life. So I've been raised to understand this relationship. So with my elders, with my teacher, with Baba Fasegun, with Master Yamen, with Mama Diketa, you know, Felipe Garcia, Lorenzo, Ibaye, and just developing a lifelong journey and a lifelong relationship with them, you know, and certain things that you do that you want to watch out for. For example, like I was raised that you don't stand over your elders, right? So when if your elder is sitting down and you walk into the room and you go under them, and you listen to what they're saying, right? A couple of quotes came to mind. We all know this one, right? They say when a library burns, there's so much information. And Camila said something about, or actually IYA FAYOMI talked about like listening, you know? What's that quote? They say, a wise man once said, nothing. Right? So talking about CC, I feel that, and I want to acknowledge my relationship with Linda Udine and my experience working with Vive Brazil. I was able to spend many years with CC and really be under her and hear her stories and learn so many songs. I spent whole semesters with her at Santa Monica College. And I always made it a point, you know, if I ever got there on time, because I was always late, but I would always make it a point to go to her, meet her at into the room. When class is over, walk her back to the car. You know, I always made it a point to not only just take this information, ask her what does she need, you know. And she's such a humble presence, you know. When she comes into the room, she has so much information. So I want to speak to one experience. So we were working on this show. It was called Peace Transcends. And, you know, when it comes to music and the African diaspora, especially when you're bringing Yoruba culture, okay, by way of if it's candomblé, if it's lukumi, you know, I don't like to use this word secular, because to me, anytime you're dancing and you're doing music, whether you're doing it in a form of like just having fun, it's medicine, it's prayer, right? And when you're bringing these prayers in song form into contemporary music or into contemporary dance, you have to be very careful that you're maintaining the synchronicity and the tradition, and you're preserving it, but you're also inviting people to understand what that is and enjoy it, right? Even if they're not practicing. And I would say that working with Dona CC with this particular show, you know, I had all these songs. We were we were working on a particular, I think, orchestration for Osun. And I had all these songs that I wanted to use, but I will say that it felt really humbling to be like Dona CC's sidekick, because I was a musical director at this point and I had these ideas, but I would check in with Dona CC. And even if I was making a mistake, if I was sharing a song that maybe, you probably shouldn't bring this to the stage, but she wouldn't, you know, get mad and be like, she sit there, she said, and I would make sure I go check in with her. This is a better song you should do. I think you should do this. And let's just say, through that experience, that's one of the most beautiful musical pieces I've ever created in my life. And I thank that to Linda and Yaya CC for that experience. And I think, you know, I've hosted workshops and times where she was sharing the information in this book and the songs and the stories is so valuable to our community right now, because we have it in a book form. We can read it. You know, it's one thing when she's sharing it, it's in her system, but it's another thing when we can read it, back to it. Okay, I learn something new every time. I understand something new every time. Wow, I didn't know that. No matter how many years go by, you can go back and learn something more. And you know, I'm only on page 13, and I'm like, oh my God. So much information. So that's what I want to say. So
you guys said everything that I want to say, so it's like I really don't know. No, I'm just joking. No, but really. So I didn't know some of the background about Dona CC that you guys told today. So I learned something, and I learned something about myself. We had a lot of the same similar path. Experiences would come to me, and as I walk through life, I'm now a nurse and a mom and all the stuff that I do. I never was looking for, I was never trying to be a teacher. I was never looking for what has kind of become my life. I always was looking, I always received the opportunities and the experiences as they came to me and met them with work and dedication. I always had wanted to move forward and share knowledge with community, and it's become something really beautiful. And I say that only to recognize Dona CC in me, or myself also in Dona CC in a way, because I feel that what always has impressed me about her has never been the information. I mean, the information is so vast and is so, I mean, once you sit down with her, I remember writing a post one time, like, man, you can sit down with Dona CC and she'll tell you the history of the world. I mean, it's epic and thorough and pure, but I've always just been so impressed with her. You know, the way that she walks through the world, the way that she shows up in spaces, and the relationship that you can tell. To really know what she knows, you have to walk a certain way in the world. To know what she knows, you can't be a vessel of certain information if you're not treating people right. Sure. If you're not creating relationships with your community in a certain type of way. And so, like, for me, the appreciation of the knowledge, and much like Khalil's experience, we had a lot of the similar experiences because of Linda and Viva Brazil, you know, being able to work so closely with Dona CC for so long. So I feel very privileged to know her because of that. And then invite her to our workshops, and then she'd be like, Rachel, you love, oh yeah, come and dance, and da-da. And be able to really work with her in a way. She's so sweet, oh my gosh. But I have to say that I first was so impressed with just her as a human being. The same reason why I was impressed with Baba and Iya. I don't know if I've ever told Iya this, but I would always tell Baba, like, I didn't come to service, and I don't come to this. Well, of course, because of Ifa, but because I was just so humbled and impressed and, like, really inspired by somebody's character. And Dona CC really, she's really incredible. And her knowledge and her touches go so deep, and it touches all of us in such a deep way. Yes, because of the knowledge, but because of who she's being, her humility, her spirit, her dedication, and her determination. So that's what I want to say.
Ashe, thank you both so much. Pretty soon we're gonna do a little quick Q&A. I wanted to make sure I also shout out and give gratitude to everybody who donated to make this book possible. Some of y'all are probably here, maybe some of you are not, but I want y'all to know that I did get some funding from my school, and my savings, and my parents helped this too. So God bless Nancy McDermott and because my parents really believed in this project, but most of this is donations, y'all. So like there's a whole page. A lot of these folks came to a workshop that Rachel and Khalil hosted with the blessing of IYA FAYOMI, sharing knowledge. And all of that money meant that I was able to do this project with accountability to you. So with accountability to CC, with accountability to Baba and Iya, who I've cried with and like been like, I don't know if I can do this, like had breakdowns with, like the people I'm accountable to has been all of y'all and the people who donated, rather than the academic industrial complex, which I'm gonna briefly say, like, so Donna CC has a lot of information that is not in books, right? This is her first book in English. And she has, there have been 2 articles where she's listed as a co-author, and she has a cookbook in Portuguese where she is listed as a co-author. However, I cannot count the number of scholarly books and dissertations where the scholars got their information from her. And I'm not going to paint in a like complete brush all of those people because there's too many to count. But what happens is structural racism, which is the extraction of knowledge from this Black woman, which goes to build the careers and literally put money in the pockets. And as I mentioned, she didn't get to go to college because of a dictatorship. So there's people with a lot of letters after their names who have acquired those letters in part because of this woman who doesn't have any letters on her name. And some folks are really good about compensating her. But one thing that is just, it's who she is, she does not ask people to compensate her. She is very, wants the agency to be able to say, no, thank you. And if someone wants information from her. And so she doesn't want it to be for sale, like, oh, if someone pays me, then I give it. But then the flip side is what happens is, like, also she comes from a cultural context where she's not going to tell you how smart she is, because she values humility so much. She walks the talk of humility more than anyone I know, and honestly more than I wish she would sometimes, because I want her to be really rich and be happy, and I want her to live in a mansion, and that's my stuff. But so sometimes people don't pay her, or they'll bring her some food or something, but they're not compensating her commensurately with the value that she is providing. And to me, that is an injustice. That's not her saying it. She is so gracious. That's me. And that's why I did this book. So that's the importance of methodology for me, that the money that allowed me to go there and translate things and get this book published without like outsiders who don't practice this religion saying, oh, take this out, oh, take this out. All of that was because of practitioners of Yoruba religion, people who loved Donna CC. And this whole goal is to make sure that she has tangible resources to take care of herself. Because Bell Hooks says love is an action, never simply a feeling. And so we have 15 minutes, and I'd love to open for questions and yeah, and any of our panelists can hop in.
Yeah. Hello, Camelia. Thank you so much. So you said at the beginning that you have a lot more material. Will you be writing more? I would really look forward to more.
Hi, Eva. I don't know. I will think about it. So like, there's always the possibility for part 2 and everything. Honestly, like, this is, I did this for free, and I really want all the money to go to her, but I'm also a grad student, so I have to get like credentials for myself to put food on my table as. Yeah, it is a life goal. I want to keep on working on this, and definitely it actually was my perfectionism that made it take longer, because I would have given y'all a book that was like the size of this textbook, but I thought it's better to like give something. Iya was telling me, just like, do this when there can always be a sequel. So.
Following up on that, I was curious because I know how much incredible information she has. How did you decide what to include in the book? Like, what was your criteria? By the way, I just finished it this morning and I'm so in love with it. It's fantastic.
Yay!
Congratulations.
I've tried really hard to make sure it was what she wanted. So the process was like interviews, transcription, reading the transcription aloud to her, and having her tell me, no, so what is in here is described that she said, yes, go ahead, let's put that in the book. But there's also more. So the thing is, she is this wise woman, right? But she likes to spend as much of her time, as many of her days as possible, sharing these stories with low-income kiddos in her community. So like sometimes I would be like, can we like go over the manuscript? And like then like 10 children would come run over and she would like go to be with them. So part of my hesitation has been like, I have more information that I transcribed, but I wanted to make sure she got to go over it and I got to double check my understanding. So I would love to be able to sit with her some more and be like, Mama, did I understand this correctly? Do I have permission? And then there could be more. And Linda wanted to share. Linda, do you want to hop in?
Sure. Alafia to everyone. I am humbled to be in front of every one of you because every day I learn from every one of you. My destiny changed at UCLA when I saw Hinilda Flores' group Bahia Magia perform the dances of the Orishas. And at that moment, I knew that I would be traveling and that my life would be different. And I am here because of all of your amazing contribution to my life and to the Brazil and to Badaro's life as well. I wanted to share something that I'm writing because finally, in 2005, Baba said to me, it's time for you to write the book. And I'm slow. But here's a little bit of a beginning. It hasn't been edited yet, but this is about Dona Cici. And I wanted to share this with you. So here we go. I have just put Dona Cici back on a plane to Salvador Bahia. This was in 2017. I have a rush of emotions as I reflect on walking side by side with her for 6 weeks and with great humility under the whitest cloth of Obatala. Dona Cici is divinity in motion, patience in motion, peace in motion, magical enchantment, every step that she takes, every breath that she breathes, every story that she tells, every energetic step that she teaches, every beat of her giant heart, every stroke of her bell, every morsel of her wisdom. She sees the world through an intelligent and loving lens that mixes ancient West Africa, of Dahomey and Nigeria, in and out of the lands of Oshogbo, Abeokuta, the empires of Oya of Onire, embraces current technology with the caution of Orisha Ogun, admires the work of those ancient energy, stories, movements, rhythms, and songs into an Afro-contemporaneous sensibility with joy and creativity, and reminds us to know the wise roots of every step of joy and rage, inclusion and exclusion, resistance and resilience that is deeply embedded in Afro-Brazilian culture. She finds the child in all of us and in herself, affirms her Oshun as she adorns herself with bracelets and loves hot sauces and knows when to gaze into the crescent moon, asking for prosperity. She offers to the gods with pure knowing that with each deep ancestral communication, she can move mountains, really move mountains. Energies rumble and activate, and she is the great balance. And she does this all in a day with the most intense appreciation I have ever experienced. She is small in stature and gigantesco in warmth, love, knowledge, and cariño. She learned in her 30s that once her hair began to turn gray and that she would walk at a slower pace, that she would then travel the world to teach, to learn, to share, to live, to experience she saw in the thousands of photos that her pai Fatumbi, Pierre Verger, shared with her. She lives in patience, concerned about the daily politics of her querido Brazil, and is thrilled as she savors a well-seasoned potato pancake at Cantor's Deli on a late Friday night, her favorite restaurant in LA, sharing in the joy of a late. She has a life force in patient motion. She is larger than life and the energy that she channels. I thank each and every one of you for sharing in the joy of CC. So
I can't
I've translated this for her, so it's because I know that folks have so many other questions, and so keep on, because we're having a good time on this conversation with her, and she also wants to say probably more than a few words.
Ashe, thank you so much, Linda. And again, I want to, well, in the book I say, but I want to say to all of y'all that it is Bedin and Viva Brazil that I met Dona Cici, because Viva Brazil, Linda, and the amazing team raised the funds to bring her to Tongvaland, Los Angeles, where so many of us met her physically, although her spiritual influence is really global. There was a question for our panelists. There's actually so popcorn, whichever one you want to answer. These were: can you be Christian and candomblé? What is the biggest misconception about candomblé? What 3 facts would you like for non-practitioners to understand? And what are some modern approaches that are disintegrating the traditional practices? Lots of good questions, which I don't think we have time for all of them, but let's. Oh, did I mute everybody? Can people unmute?
I just found how to unmute.
Okay, cool.
Wow, those are lots of questions about the candomblé. Candomblé itself has quite a bit of it inside of it, but around it, kind of as a if Linda's talking, Linda's muted. If you want to speak, Linda, unmute. The biggest misconceptions for me that I find, I'm living in the South right now, I live in LA sometimes, and right now I'm in the deep South, is that it's just reduced to witchcraft, and that is not it. It is math, right? in a significant way. It's about process and about small practices. That's something that I wish people would understand. Also, something that Baba spoke to earlier, the cat coming into the yard and eating up all the food, or the bird coming into the yard and eating all the food and then walking out of the yard. That's real. A lot of people want to come and get the magic part and then peace out and be done with it, but it does not really function. It appears to have magical impact, but really it's just about one little step at a time and adjusting yourself. That's the biggest thing I personally would like people to understand about Candomblé. When you get to work with an elder like Dona CC, it becomes very clear that almost any problem you are having in your life is because you have agreed to have that problem. And that's hard to hear. But as soon as you realize that you agreed to have that problem, you can also create the conditions to stop having that problem. And that is an important aspect of Candomblé. It is not magic. Yes, there's lots of little things you have to do, you need to learn. But all of that is really about cultivating a deep relationship with yourself, so that when Orisha, which are known as spirits or selected heads, heads that do work, they show up, they can show up to celebrate with you and not to force a certain condition in your life. Who else would like to say something? Khalil Nim, Baba Fashogun, IYA FAYOMI. Because, you know, our Ile practices all of the traditions that are connected, not just Candomblé. And I know Malkai is on here. Malkai, if you'd like to say something, he's a priest of Oshumare out of a really interesting lineage. Some of y'all are on here, so I can say something.
A benção, todos. Awo Motumba. Achei. I want to say a benção to Dona CC and her community and all the priests. Awo Fasegun, IYA FAYOMI. I know Baba Eric Mason is on the line as well. And I believe Baba Kola Abimbola may be on the line as well. So, and all the elders, it's been a fantastic discussion. And congratulations on your book and all your work, Camellia. Fantastic work. Linda, I'm not going to talk long. I did hear some questions. I can share quickly my thoughts. But as an initiate, as an Ogun of Candomblé, Oya being my daughter as an Ogun of Oya, and as a son of Oshumare, of 24 years now, initiated in the Ile Kale Bokun. Some of you might know my sister, Vanya, Iya Vanya of Kale Bokun. I've found that the tradition, so many little things in Candomblé are shared in Christianity. It did take on a small Christian ways, jeitos, right? Because of the need to syncretize. Something as simple as always needing to shower and change before you do anything. You know, you can't go in the room with shoes on that you've worn outside. You know, when I say the room, I'm talking about Kwachajuashe, or rooms where the Orisha are. They call it an obligation, which I believe is also a Christian term. But your 7-year obligation, all of these rituals and things that you have to go through. And I'm not as familiar with Ifa in that sense as to whether 21-year obligation. I don't think there's, but I know that the elders will correct me. There are many things that are in there. But what I will say is that my godmother, Iya Estelita Calmon, God rest her soul, although she loved Jesus, she was an extreme Candomblista. And I know that as time passed on, the community, Iavanya, and some of the others, there's a big move to separate some of those traditions of Christianity that exist. And some Iles are there's one ritual, for example, after you complete your obligation, your initiation, where you have to go to 7 churches on your last day. It's called the Homaria. Some Iles are not doing Homaria anymore. And there are some people who are being initiated who want to do the Homaria anymore. And that's a personal choice. But what I will say is that either way, God energy is God energy. And for me, my grandmother, Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, dark-skinned Black woman, taught me how to pray. And the truth of the matter is, whether I'm reciting Oriki, chanting to Oshare or Oya, she comes to mind, along with Iya Valdechi and Maya Stelita and Vanya and all those women and men who taught me how to invoke and speak energies are beyond me, that I need to help me through situations. And so I do think that, you know, I love what I see here related to the interconnect of Ifa, the Ifa community and the Candomblé community and the Lukumi community that is occurring right now in our country, to be honest with you. And that has been one of my missions, is to bring us together. I don't like the idea that we can't do things in concert with each other. And so you all are, I am so happy that I came on to this call today. I'm studying my MBA right now at U of I online, and I've been studying, and I was like, I gotta get on this call time. And I did, and I'm so grateful that I did. The last thing I wanna say is COVID-19 is real in Brazil. They're suffering, and this donations and support for Donna CC is important. The only time I almost met Donna CC was to bring her to the second annual Candomblé Symposium, which me and Anna, Eric, and some other, Linda, hosted in Chicago in 2014. Donna CC was supposed to be one of our speakers at the second one, and unfortunately it hasn't happened yet. So I do plan to meet her and bring her to Chicago so that we can really kick it. But please support them financially, because the dollar right now in Brazil, my wife sent money to her IA this morning, and it was $5.30 to $1. And that is horrible. So we really should try to do that. So peace and blessings. Axé, abença todos.
Obrigada, uma benção para o Senhor. Thank you so, so much. We had some folks ask for your information, like the Candomblé Symposium, etc. So if you could put that in the chat, that would be such a wonderful thing. And so I do want to respect people's time. I asked for like 1 to 2:15. I don't have anything else to do, so I am happy to stay here, but I want to respect especially our panelists who have already donated their time. And so if any of y'all need to move on to another thing, I am grateful, and for what you've already done. And yeah, is there anyone else any of our panelists who wanted to hop onto any of those questions that were already posed, or to say goodbye and we can applaud you?
I'd love to say something just about Donna CC in closing. You know, if you've heard me talk about how sacred the practice of Ifa is, you know, the purpose of any earth-centered tradition comes with the drumming, the song, the dance, the prayer, Oriki, and all of these things come together. You can be a specialist in one of those things, but in practicing as a spiritual practitioner, you need to do it all. You can't sit in the back and say, I don't dance, or I don't sing, or I don't pray. They all come together. And I think Donna CC Yeye is a divine representation of the intersectionality of all of these things that are sacred in our tradition. She brings you the dance, she brings you the Oriki, she brings you all of the things that come together that makes our tradition sacred, and that makes it a tradition that has been passed down the way it has. She is a pure representation of listening to the ancestors. Ashe, she is what I say about ingesting, Ashe, and not just waking up and saying the same old prayer you say every day, but really ingesting the ashe. Donna Sisi makes you in what it is that makes us spiritual, right? When she's in the room, you feel like you feel what she's saying. You're not just listening. You sit at the feet and you ingest it, right? It touches on what Dr. Scott was saying, but she is the embodiment of what we're talking about all the time, which is you should be able to feel this tradition. It's not something that's not tangible. It's very tangible. And I feel like she is the perfect representation of everything that we practice in one body. And I seriously praise her. I praise her. And that's just all I wanted to say. She really embodies what we're talking about all the time. You should be able to feel it and taste it and smell it. And then that's what she brings to our tradition. And it's just, ain't too many people can do that, but she can do it. Ashe.
Ashe. Linda said that Donna Sisi wants to say something. So I'm going to turn it over to Linda. Beloved Mamai Linda? Okay, cool. I keep on putting in the chat box how to buy the book, and here is Linda.
May she speak? That's her humility. She's asking first. Oof. Okay, vamos. First, I want to show gratitude first to my ancestors. And all of your ancestors in this Zoom meeting today. I want to thank all of your ancestors as well. I want to thank Ifa for putting all of you of my destiny. And when I became initiated into Ifa, my life changed immediately. I began to understand and to learn and to understand human beings better. I'm asking prayers from all of my elders and all of you that are younger than me. And also asking for blessings from all of the children that will be born as well. All of these words that you have shared with me, I feel them. They were very strong words for me. In a moment in time, in a moment in my present life where things are very confused. In a 5-day period, I lost my brother to the COVID, and then 5 days later, I lost my mother, who was 105 and a half, from natural causes. And at the same time, I am obligated to have to listen to our president, who is looking at human beings and looking at the deaths of our citizens who have died from COVID just as numbers. You're giving me so much strength. And this is giving me certainty that this moment, this very, very difficult moment, will pass. and with all of your blessings, that I know that I have a future. That I have a future to work. So that I will be able to sing the songs, the chants of my Orishas. So that I will be able to dance. And to be able to share the stories of my people. I am thanking from the bottom of my heart to all of you that have paid homage to me. You are all the preface of this book. So this is a little hard. I say this with the most amazing amount of humility. She's thanking me for bringing her to the United States. It was all of you that have been bringing her to the United States. I've had the pleasure of pushing it a little bit. And that she hopes, to see you all again and to share these most amazing experiences that she has had and that she will continue to have. And all I can say is thank you very much. You have no idea what you have done for me and the good that you have done for me today. I will always, always, always be grateful to each and every one of you. Love, Cici.
Ashe.
Todo mundo está batendo palma para a senhora! Yay!
Thank you, Linda, for the labor of translation. It is work, and I am grateful that you are doing that. I don't know if, but I thought maybe Baba or Iya, if you wanted to say something directly to Dona Cici from Ifa, feel free.
Iya, we're grateful for you. Tell her that we're very grateful. And
agora eu vou deixar você ouvir isso, tá bom? Peraí, sim.
Orunmila mi kashopwe, mi kashopwe, kashopwe, kashopwe. Orunmila mi kashopwe, 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 kashopwe. Orunmila mi kashopwe, kashopwe, kashopwe. Yeah. We are so grateful that we have you on this planet. We are grateful to your parents for giving you birth. We are grateful to Olodumare and the Irumule that brought you here. Ashe, we're all blessed because of your Ori. Ashe, we're all blessed because of your ancestors. Osagun Leja says, one head blesses 200. You bless more than 200. And by your humility and your Iwa, you inspire me. Personally, you inspire me. Ifa always talks about what are we searching for? Iwa, Iwa, Langwa, Iwa. We're searching to be like you.
Ashe.
Ashe. And I'm just, personally, I've been very humbled whenever I'm in your presence. Ifa says, when you're in the presence of Ashe, head becomes heavy. That's it.
Ashe.
You can't hold your head up because you bow your head becomes heavy. And so that's why we 40 ballet to IYA, we 40 ballet to shrines, we 40 ballet to those who are the Ashe is strong. The Ashe is strong. So we're really, really grateful for what you bring what you bring. And also it's important for those of us in the diaspora to see another person from another part of the diaspora carrying this ashe. It's inspiring and humbling. And what Baba Brown was saying earlier about bringing together, Ifa talks about a lashuada, bringing people together, That's what Ifa is. The thing of separation, that's white supremacy that filtered into Ifa. Not to say that there aren't problems in Nigeria of different lineages arguing and fighting. That's a human thing, but Ifa doesn't support that. Osun talks about Eniyan, human beings, the specially selected ones that bring good things from heaven. That's what we're all trying to do. And when Donna Sisi is here, she makes everyone's head heavy. We just want to bow down and respect her ashe. And there are other elders that are in our midst that we need to be doing the same thing for them in all these different areas. We need to do the same for them. And someday we're all going to be elders. As Dr. Scott was saying earlier about the time. And we know that in Ifa, in the Opon Ifa, when divination is done, the energy comes from heaven to earth, from our past, our physical and our spiritual past to our future, and they meet in the center of the tray. There's no time. So we're all Agbalagba right now. We're working to be Egun and ancestors. Right now, we're all in that energy. So we need to be working on being good human beings so that her ashe is touching all of us. And so whatever we're feeling, we need to go and make sure that we spread that ashe. This is what Ifa is, not all the other stuff. The shrines and the ilekes and all those things are important, but Ifa is about your humility and how you touch human beings. Are we part of bringing Ire out of people? Donna Sisi brings Ire out of people. I can't imagine anything else. She brings Ire out of folks, and that's what we should all be doing. How do we bring Ire out of people? And Donna Sisi has the ability to bring Ire. Sorry if you don't know. Good fortune, good things. She brings Ire out of us. She makes you want to be better. If for a hot second you're trying to be a better human being when you're in her presence. Sure. And so we say that we do the same. When someone is in our presence, the thug, the knucklehead, the bonehead, for a second, they're respecting and saying, you know what? I'm going to be a better person when I'm in the presence. So that's what Donna Sisi does when I'm around her, when I see her, when I've been blessed to sit with her. She makes me want to be better. So thank you, Linda, for all the work. And thank you everyone that's connected to her and that's done all this beautiful work. And keep praying for each other through all of this, because this is a very, very important time. And Camellia, awesome to you. Good work. And we need to support people and don't be so hard on yourself. Ashe, we should all respect Ajay. Ajay is an Orisha. We should respect her. She's blessing us. Ashe. And we want to take that blessing to Donna Sisi. Ashe.
Yeah, did you want to say something to Donna Sisi?
I said it. I'm good. I love her. I love you. Yeah.
I'm will say, IYA FAYOMI, I don't know whether you saw it in the chat, but she considers you one of her mothers. She said that she will never forget how you held her when she became initiated into Ifa Baba, and she will never forget that. So she says she realizes that you are younger, but you're one of her mothers. Oh, she wants to sing a song. So I think everyone has to unmute. My volume all the way up here. Let's see. Can you all hear? Sim, vamos fazer teste.
Eu posso cantar?
Can you hear her?
Dá para ouvir.
Okay.
Ouvi ela dizendo. Ouvi.
Let's get up.
Baba unjeje, Baba Morio. Baba Morio.
I'm saying here. I said, wherever you are, so wherever you are, the energy of Obatala is with you, wherever you are in the world. And she's saying, Adupe. You can all, if you unmute and you all give her a shout out, I'm sure that she would totally love to hear every voice in this Zoom call.
Baby, but I also
Thank you. Yeah.
Dona Sisi.
Gratidão, Dona Cici, gratidão.
Yalla.
Adupe,
no to play, Dona Sisi.
Muchas gracias, Dona Sisi.
Sí.
Ashe.
Ashe. Thank you, Dona Sisi. Muito obrigada, Dona Sisi.
Beautiful.
I thank you all.
That feels like a really good place to sort of close with that love. And I saw the question about how to support practitioners of Afro-Brazilian religions in the midst of the religious persecution. And I love that question. It's something that I'm always thinking about. A dynamic that I think is important is to be mindful of like the geopolitics or the power dynamics. So like for me, I have US citizenship. So it's important for me not to like a savior, right? So like even though so if say like a lot of the attacks against Afro-Brazilian religions are often like statistically from neo-Pentecostal religions. However, that is a complicated picture because a lot of practitioners of neo-Pentecostal religions are also Afro-Brazilian. And so like if there's for a North American, I'm just going to speak for me, to try to get involved in that thing sometimes can be, it's complicated. So the way that I'm trying to do what Daniel Boas calls religious reparations for that, to lift up Dona Sisi and give her material consequences, literally reparation. She has health insurance so that she has food security. And I want her life to be as sweet as possible. And then in addition to that, to pray for protection, calling on whatever your spiritual tradition is to protect practitioners of Afro-Brazilian religions from attacks. Baba, would y'all be willing to close us out with a prayer?
Baba said that's what he did with the Mikasho Pue.
Awesome, perfect.
Gratitude.
Ashe. Beautiful. Thank you so much, everybody. Again, please support Ile Orunmila Afedefeyo. I've put it in the chat a lot, www.ifaforall.org. These are amazing priests of incredible integrity who have studied for decades. Also want to lift up Linda Udine and Viver Brazil, who that organization and Linda and Babaro and Dr. G have worked so hard and have spent years. I'm going to turn 30 this year. My entire life, Linda has been working and preserving Afro-Brazilian religion, compensating lineage bearers well to come here and to teach these arts in the public schools. So please support Viva Brazil. Please support Dr. Anna B. Scott, a brilliant scholar, activist, amazing human being whose mind dazzles me. Every speaks, like, I just feel like she took me into 20 different dimensions. AnnaBeatriceScott.com. Please lift up Marina Magallanes, who is so much, has so much praxis, who works so